لي علم بموضع الرزق وإنما أطلبه بخطرات تخطر على قلبي فأعجول في طلبه البلدان. فأنا فيما أنا طالب كالحيران، لا أدري في سهل هو أم في جبل، أم في أرض أم في سماء، أم في بر أم في بحر، وعلى يدي من ومن قبل من، وقد علمت أن علمه عندك وأسبابه بيدك، وأنت الذي تقسمه بلطفك وتسببه برحمتك. اللهم فصل على محمد وآله، واجعل يا رب رزقك لي واسعا، ومطلبه سهلا، وما أخذه قريبا، ولا تعنني بطلب ما لم تقدر لي فيه رزقا، فإنك غني عن عذابي وأنا فقير إلى رحمتك. وصل على محمد وآله، وجد على عبدك بفضلك، إنك ذو فضل عظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك يا بقية الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله أنها قالت: دخل علي أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله في بعض الأيام فقال: السلام عليك يا فاطمة. فقلت: عليك السلام. قال: إني أجد في بدني ضعفا. فقلت له: أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال: يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به. فآتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به، وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت: عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال: يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت: نعم، إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جدة يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي: يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت: نعم، إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جدة، السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال: السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال: يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت: نعم، ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له: عليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت: السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال: وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال: اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم، فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل: يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدحيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل: يا رب ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل: هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل: يا رب أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله: نعم، قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك: وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدحيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله: وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله، إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي: إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول: إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لأبي: يا رسول الله، أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله: والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله: يا علي، والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم مهموم إلا وفرج الله هما، ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غما، ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا، وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العصام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعزم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عزم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائحي ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك. ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترت وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلت وكم من عثار وقيت وكم من مكروه دفعت وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرت. اللهم عزم بلائي وأفرط بي سوء حالي وقصرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أغلالي وحبسني عن نفعي بعد أملي وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومطالي. يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في الأحوال كلها رؤوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي فغرني بما أهوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء فتجاوزت بما جرى على من ذلك بعض حدودك وخالفت بعض أوامرك، فلك الحجة علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك، وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك، وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا، مقرا مذعنا معترفا، لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني، ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري، وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري، وفكني من شد وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عزمي، يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي، هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد من طوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهج به لساني من ذكرك، واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك، هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيت، أو تبعد من أدنيت، أو تشرد من آويت، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمت. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقا وبشكرك مادحا، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققا، وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة، وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنا. ما هكذا الظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا ربي، وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكثوه، يسير بقاؤه قصير مدته، فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه، ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو ولما منها أضج وأبكي؟ لأليم العذاب والشدة أم لطول البلاء ومدتي؟ فلئن سيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وهبني صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك؟ فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآملين، ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولو نادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين. يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته وحبس بين أدباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يضج إليك ضجيجا مؤملا لرحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي. فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يعمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفا؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقا؟ أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها؟ هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك. فباليقين أقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحدك وقضيت به من إخلاد معاندك لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كانت لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما. أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي، فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها، أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمت وكل ذنب أذنبت وكل قبيح أسررت وكل جهل عملت كتمته أو أعلنت، أخفيته أو أزهرت، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت أو إحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بسطت أو ذنب تغفر أو خطأ تستر. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك الرق يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب. أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورا وبخدمتك موصولا وأعمالي عندك مقبولا، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب. قو على خدمتك جوارحي واشدد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في المبادرين، وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين وأخافك مخافة الموقنين وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فارده ومن كادني فكده واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة منك وأخصهم زلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك. وجد لي بجودك وعطف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وأقلني عثرتي وغفر زلتي فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنت لهم الإجابة فإليك يا رب نسبت وجهي وإليك يا رب مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني مناي ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي. يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره الشفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاحه البكاء يا سابغ النعام يا دافع النقام يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا. الله رحم الله من يقرأ سورة الفاتحة.
رحم الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Let's recognize the sponsors for tonight's program. It's Mr. and Mrs. Rizwan Kazmi. There's a request for Surah Fatiha for Marhum Raza Abdi Ibn Shamimul Hasnain Abdi, Zahra Bano, daughter of late Sher Ali Manji and widow of late Akbar Ali Hedri. Surah Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الفاسفين الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولمن صبر وغفر إن ذلك لمن عزم الأمور صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات بيجي محمد وعلى محمد Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I recited this verse from Surah Shura, ayat number 43 for tonight's discussion, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about a group of people, and in the conclusion of that group, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this ayat by saying, وَلَمَنْ صَبَرَ وَغَفَرَ. As for someone who endures patiently and forgives, that is indeed the steadfast of courses. ذَلِكَ لَمِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. Indeed, there are two main subjects in this ayat. One is sabara, the second is ghafara. Riwayat mention that sabr has to precede ghafar. Sabr and patience has to come before ghufran comes, before forgiveness comes. Because only through endurance and sabr, you'll be able to have the heart to go ahead and forgive someone. Without enduring this sabr, you cannot go ahead and forgive anyone. So forgiving and then patiently waiting, that doesn't make any sense. Rather, you show patience and then you go ahead and forgive those who need this forgiveness. This word azm is something which is used quite often in Quran, in Surah Luqman as well, azm al-umur, that it is amongst the steadfast courses. Azm means steadfast, mustahkam, something which is based on being a solid in foundation. And that is the reason why the five of all of the Anbiya are known as Ulul Azm Anbiya. That there are only five that are considered to be Ulul Azm. Why are they Ulul Azm? Well, there are many differences or many opinions that exist in this regard. One opinion is that they're called Ulul Azm, Ulu, which literally means Sahiban, the possessors. Azm means, as we translated in this ayat, someone who is steadfast. So the possessors of steadfastness. That could be one of the translations of Ulul Azm Anbiya, that they were Ulul Azm. But of course, the word steadfastness does not really clarify to us that which particular attribute of these Anbiya was the reason why they were called Ulul Azm, and the rest of them were not called Ulul Azm. Out of 124,000 Anbiya, only 5 are called Ulul Azm. So there are 3 possibilities that are given. Number 1, this Ulul Azm refers to those who are possessors of sabr and patience. Because these 5 of the Anbiya endured the maximum amount of patience, or they displayed patience in front of all the turmoil and the calamities that they had faced. And therefore we find that Ulul Azm could really mean Ulul Sabr, those who are the possessors of the utmost level of sabr because of the difficulties they faced during their tabligh. So just to give you an example, Hazrat Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam did not have an easy go. 950 years of tabligh, and to that people are doing what? They are not believing in the message. Not only they don't believe in the message, but they also put their fingers in their ears when he's speaking to them. They shout slurs toward him. They throw stones, pelt stones at him to the extent that he is injured. And it's all discussed in Surah Nuh, chapter number 71. And then we find Hazrat Ibrahim goes through difficulties as well, that he was thrown into this fire, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made and commanded to become cool and sound for Hazrat Ibrahim. And that was not only test. In fact, Allah took so many tests from Hazrat Ibrahim that he spelled it out by saying that, oh Ibrahim, indeed you have cleared all the tests that we put you in. The ayat of Quran in Surah Baqarah, which talks about where Hazrat Ibrahim says after which that وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي, what about my zurriyat? Are they also going to be amongst the imams? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَا يَنَالُ أَحْدَ لِلظَّالِمِينَ. My covenant does not reach out to those who are zalimeen. And of course you come to our Prophet of Islam, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. You find in his life as well the azimat that he went through, the steadfastness in front of all the calamities and the difficulties that he faced during his tablighi mission. So that could be one of the reasons that they are called sahiban sabr. Ulul azm means what? That they are the possessors of steadfastness or sabr in this regard. Second is based on the ayat of Quran that they are considered to be ulul azm because they are sahiban ahad. Meaning what? They are the possessors of the covenant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is from Surah Ahzab. Ayat number 7 talks about وَإِذَا خَذْنَا مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ مِيثَاقَهُمْ وَمِنْكَ. We took mithaq, covenant from the Nabiyyin and from you, O Prophet. وَمِن نُوحٍ. So Prophet, وَمِن نُوحٍ وَإِبْرَاهِيمَ وَمُوسَى وَإِيسَى ibn Maryam وَأَخَذْنَا مِنْهُمْ مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا. From everyone we took mithaq, covenant, from all the Anbiya. But from you, Nuh, Ibrahim, Musa and Isa, we took mithaqan ghaliza, meaning a little bit difficult covenant that we took from you. From the other ones, we took a mithaq, but it wasn't as difficult as the one that you guys had to bear and take care of. So therefore, ulul azm could mean that they are sahiban ahad or mithaq or covenant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And thirdly, these five are sahiban shariat. They all possess a stand-alone shariat. And there's a lengthy hadith in this regard from Muhammad Yaqub al-Qulaini in his book Al-Kafi. I'm not going to read the entire hadith, but the gist of it is that when someone asked Imam regarding these ulul amr, Imam ﷺ said, after Nuh, all the Anbiya that came, they followed the shariat of Hazrat Nuh ﷺ. Until Ibrahim. After Ibrahim left this world, everybody followed the shariat of Ibrahim ﷺ. Until Isa, until Musa. When Musa came, people followed his shariat until he left this world, and they continued following his shariat until Hazrat Isa ﷺ came. And then there's an interesting factor, because after Hazrat Isa, according to some mention that there isn't any Nabi, the period is called Fatra between Hazrat Isa and Rasulullah, that there is no Nabi. But there's some riwayat suggest that there were some Anbiya that were sent in between who continued to follow the shariat of Hazrat Isa ﷺ until our Prophet came, and of course his shariat. So ayat of Quran is Surah Shura, ayat number 13 says, Shara'a lakum min ad-deen ma wassa bihi. That we have, given doctrine to you from this religion, and that which has been given to you as a will, bihi Nuhan, وَالَّذِي أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ مَا وَصَّيْنَا بِهِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَمُوسَى وَإِيسَى. Again, the same five Anbiya are mentioned to highlight the fact that they are the Ulul Azm Anbiya, and therefore Ulul Azm could also mean Sahibe Shariat. So you have three aqwal. The first call says that they are Sahibe Sabr. The second call said that they are Sahibe Mithaq. and the third qawl suggests that they are Sahibe Shari'at, and that is the reason these five are considered to be Ulul Azm Anbiya. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Another reason I recited this ayat is to understand how we go through difficulty in our lives, and towards the end of difficult life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in these such ayat, ذَلِكَ مِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ, that indeed these are difficult things that require steadfastness. Similarly, when it talks about وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ إِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ, that seek assistance from sabr and salat. Indeed, this is difficult, kabiratun, except for those who are what? Khashi'een, those who are humble in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or when Hazrat Luqman gives advice to his son, he says, "O my son, wa'mur bil ma'ruf wanha 'anil munkar," and be steadfast in your prayers and in your psalm and salat. And at the end he says, "Dhalika min azmil umur." Indeed, these are difficult tasks, and not everyone will be able to fulfill them. So there are difficulties in life, but sabr is the way to go, and forgiveness is what is being recommended here by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 13th of Jamad al-Thaniya, or Jamad al-Akhirah, also coincides with the wafat of Fatima bint Hizam al-Kilabiyya, also known as al-Baneen alayhi ar-Rahmah. She is the mother of Hazrat Abul Fadl Abbas, Ja'far, Abdullah, and Uthman, the four martyrs of Karbala. And so I thought in this Shabe Jumah, I'll talk briefly about this great lady and where she came from and some aspects of her karamat. Inshallah, with your loud Nara Salawat. So as I said, Fatima bint Hizam, her father's name is Hizam. Hizam is someone who, when he mentions the miraculous and the majestic birth of this lady, al-Baneen, Hizam was traveling, and he said that during his travel, he saw himself while he was, taking rest somewhere, surrounded by pearls and gems. And a buyer came and he asked him, "Can you sell me these pearls and gems?" To which Hizam did not let go, and he kept it to himself. And then he woke up. And then when he returned back from his travel, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon him a daughter. He named her to be Fatima. And this is how her miraculous birth, or the majestic birth, is mentioned. But then we see, this is where the story goes a little bit further back. Hizam's father is Abu Barra, also known as Amir ibn Hisham Kilabi. That's where the name Kilabiya comes into the family of Hazrat al-Baneen. Abu Barra had an illness that he would get dehydrated a lot. As today we find people, it is in fact discussion in fiqh under the discussion of fasting, that those who get excessively thirsty, they don't have to fast. Fasting is not obligatory upon those who get excessively thirsty. So this is an illness which exists in certain people. They don't have any other illness. They don't have heart condition. They're not diabetic, which would allow them to not fast. But excessive thirst is something which is also one of the reasons for which a person is allowed to skip fasting, and of course give fidya for the days that he or she cannot fast. So Abu Barra had the similar illness, that he would dehydrated very often, or quite often, and very quickly. So one day he sent the uncle of Hizam. So Abu Barra is grandfather of Fatima Kilabiya, Hazrat al-Baneen. He sends the uncle of Hizam, his name was Labid, to Rasulullah with some gifts. And just a gesture of giving gifts to Rasulullah. When Labid brought these gifts to Rasulullah, Rasulullah refused him. He said, I do not take gifts from mushrikeen. You want to become Musliman, you become Muslim, then I'll accept this with my both hands. But the fact that you're not a Muslim, I'm not going to take any gifts from mushrikeen. Now, this should not be taken in a context that today, if your friends who are not Muslim, they give you gifts, they say, well, Rasulullah did not accept gifts, so I'm not going to do that either. No, it's a different scenario. Of course, if you want to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah, then you would do that. But it's not haram to accept gifts from non-Muslims. Just like it's not haram to give them gifts as well, whether it be their birthday or whether they have achieved something or they have accomplished something. But yes, sharing of gifts, there's nothing wrong between Muslims and non-Muslims. So, but Rasulullah refused it. And there was a reason. Rasulullah wanted to, certain times, sometimes you do these things because you want to leave an impression on certain people. They come from a very decorated family. The family of Kilabiyya was a very decorated family. From the women's side, they were all educated women, very, as far as the literature is concerned, we got a lot of poetry and prose from the women of Kilabiyya. And Janabe al-Baneen also had a lot of ash'ar of her own. Similarly, as far as the men of this household were concerned, what was the reason Imam Ali chose to marry this family? Bravery, right? So the men were known for their bravery. They were known for their valor. So they were very decorated as far as the family background and the lineage was concerned. So Rasulullah did not accept the gifts. But then Rasulullah did some gesture. He, took some sand and he mixed it with his own, lu'ab-e-dehen, his spit, and he gave it to Labid. He said, go give it to Abu Darra. And this should solve his issue of getting thirsty. Abu Darra takes it, uses it, and he said, I never had any complaints of being thirsty ever again after what Rasulullah has sent for me. This is where we understand how Ma'asumeen knew that in the lineage, in the family, although they're mushrikeen right now, there will come someone who will be Sahib-e Iman. And someone who will be at the level of Iman where no one else could be compared with. This is not, lafazi and this is not oratory where you hear that Amir al-Mu'mineen's sword was looking in 7 different generations below that if there is going to be anyone who is going to be steadfast in this path, so Imam would spare that individual. This is not oratory. Rather, this is something haqiqat. So Rasulullah knew the same thing. He mixed his lu'ab-e-dehen and he sent it. Abu Darra drank it and he never complained of being thirsty ever again. Amir al-Mu'mineen, after the shahadat of Janab Sayyida, decides to marry and he asks Aqil, as you all know, his brother, to look for some family which is brave. Look at the criteria that Imam Ali ﷺ had and look at the criteria that we usually have when we are looking for marriage and proposals, right? Different criteria. Imam ﷺ asked Aqil, who was known for his genealogy and the skills of ansab and whatnot, that to look for lineage or a family which is brave and known for their bravery. And of course, there was no family as brave as the family of the Kilabiyya. Hazrat Aqil suggests al-Baneen, Fatima bint Hizam, and he sends Aqil to go ahead and ask for her hand. Arab culture at that time, I don't know, the Arabs in our community will tell us if this still exists. Back in the day, the Arab culture was when you had a guest come to your house, you don't ask them any question for 3 days. You provide for them. You continue feeding them. After 3rd day, when they are comfortable now with you, because they've been in this house for 72 hours now, then they go ahead and say, what is the reason for you coming? So that was part of their hospitality, that they would feed them for 3 days. No questions asked. You could be someone who's a stranger just looking for some food. So 3 days you got food and lodging and you can leave. And we still see the hospitality today when you go for Arba'een walk, right? The way the Iraqis, the people of that background, they show their generosity, even if they have nothing, even if they have very little, but whatever little they have, they're willing to share with other individuals. So this was a practice back in the day as well, that the Arab culture, they would say, come to our house for 3 days, no question asked. On the 4th day, they asked Aqil, what is the reason that you have come to our house? Hazrat Aqil responded by saying that I have come to ask for the hand of your daughter for my brother Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli. So the father of Hazrat Fatima bint Hizam was surprised. So he said, well, I need to consult with my daughter first. So he comes inside in the room, and his wife and his daughter are sitting there. And he said, he was about to ask this question, but his daughter was actually relating a dream of her own to her mother. And Hazrat Hizam, he heard it. She said, I was sitting in a garden. There were rivers and fruits. Moon and stars were shining. I was amazed by the azamat of all of these things, that all of a sudden a moon came to my lap. And following that moon, 3 stars also came to my lap. Moon, Qamar Bani Hashim, right? Hazrat Abul Fadl Abbas is known as Qamar Bani Hashim, the moon of Banu Hashim. So she already saw in a dream that a moon has come to her lap and 3 stars following that. She said the light was mesmerizing, and I heard the following. Bushraki Fatima bisadatil ghurar thalathatu anjumin wa zahirul qamar abuhum sayyidun fil khalqi qatiba ba'da ar-rasul kadha qad jaa fil khabar. He says siyadat and nuraniyat, this sadatul ghurar, sadat and nuraniyat, this illumination, 3 stars and a bright moon, their father is the leader of all of mankind after Rasul Akram, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So she, of course, agreed to it, and this is how she comes in the house of Amirul Mu'mineen. But she sets the record straight. She said, although my name is Fatima, I do not want the children of Fatima to Zahra to call me with that name. Why? It might remind, oh Ali, don't call me with this name. Why? It might remind the children of their deceased mother, and it might bring, uncomfort to them. I am a Kaniz of Fatima Zahra, and I am serving as a Kaniz to Hassan and Hussein. So this is how she showed her love to Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. This is after the Shahadat of Janabe Fatima, 10 years after the Shahadat of Janabe Fatima. So you look at Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, if they were 7 and 6 years old at the time of the Shahadat of Janabe Sayyida, they are 16 and 17 years old respectively. With this said, Janabe Fatima bint Hizam comes into the house of Amirul Mu'mineen. But there's another culture, especially in the Arab world and the Irani culture, that they consider Hazrat al-Baneen to be amongst those whom you do tawassul to. Tawassul to al-Baneen is highly regarded. We have tawassul to Athar, true, but there's tawassul to al-Baneen, greatly appreciated. And there's a big ihtimam when it comes to this sort of tawassul. So there's a story regarding this, that there was a family from Turkey, a Turkish background. They moved to Iraq. When they moved to Iraq, especially in the Ayyam-e-Azad, they would see that there were all majalis going on down the street. They were Hanafi madhab themselves, they weren't Shia. And so they saw majalis going on, and of course, they weren't Shia, so they didn't really care for the majalis much. And they had moved from Turkey for work or whatever they had to do. But this lady and her husband that had moved, this lady, they've been married for 10 years and they haven't had any kids. And they had almost become, mayus and despair, because all the things that are required for them to do, they had done. They've seen the physicians, and all of the physicians had given up that you will never become a mother. One day she runs into the local ladies who said, do you have any children? You get to know each other. I said, no, we haven't had any, this and that. She says, your life is going away. And so she said, well, what can I do? Doctors have said that I can't have kids. He said, well, try sufra of al-Baneen. Do tawassul to al-Baneen. She's like, we don't believe in those things. I have fasted on the birth of Hazrat Zakaria. I've done sadaqah. I've done all these other things, but we don't believe in the tawassul to al-Baneen. The lady insisted. She said, what do you got to lose? You don't have any children. By doing this tawassul, there's nothing less can happen, so might as well do it. She was hesitant initially. But then she comes home. She was told that there's a majlis going on in the house of a lady, Abdul Amir. You should come. This lady, her name is Wazira. You should come and, take something from the fruits or something that is on the sufra of al-Baneen. She knew that she couldn't tell her family. They would be opposing this. She gets the courage. The day the majlis was going on, she makes her way to the majlis and she sees the environment where the reciter, the lady reciter, was reciting about the fadail and the masaib of al-Baneen. She recited the fadail, which I just mentioned to you, and then she started reciting the masaib of al-Baneen, that al-Baneen, when she heard the news in the form when Bashir had come back, she said, La tad'uni wayka al-Baneen. Do not call me al-Baneen. Tadhkarini biluyuthin bil'areen. But you remind me of those tigers, of those lions who were killed in their dens. Kanat banun li adghabihim. وَالْيَوْمَ أَصْبَحْتُ وَلَا مِنْ بَنِينَ. There was a time when I had children, but no longer do I have any kids. أَرْبَعَةٌ مِثْلَ نَسُورٍ رُبَا وَوَاسِلُ الْمَوْتَى بِقَطْعِ الْوَتِينَ. I had 4 of them. They were like this tiger, they were like this eagle, they were like these falcons. And now what they tell me that they all have been killed because their veins have been severed. Ya layta shi'ri akama akhbaru bi'anna abbasan qati'ul yameen. And woe that, I've been informed. I hope it's not true that I've been informed that Abbas is qati'ul yameen, that his hands were also severed as well. So she heard these masaib of al-Baneen, and while she was hearing it for the first time, there weren't any tears, but she was so mesmerized that her heart was beating hard and hard. And she could feel that this is a lady whom they're talking about who has suffered a great deal, had not any knowledge of her. So she sits until the majlis ends, and then there was a sufra of al-Baneen. She picks up some food from it, doesn't stay long, and then she leaves right away. She tells that lady that this has to stay between you and me. None of my family members should ever find out about it. Otherwise, I might get in trouble. She comes home. Weeks pass by, a month pass by, and then she starts feeling what usually women start feeling after they conceive. And she initially didn't understand why it was happening. But then when she sees the doctor, they told her and informed her that you are expecting. She and her husband could not believe that something which we were told, and I was told that could never happen, something miraculous has happened, and that is all due to the tawassul that I had done to Fatima bint Hizam, Hazrat al-Baneen, alayhi salam, salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So she said, I made this covenant that if I have a daughter, I will name her to be Fatima. I will name her to be Fatima. As the time of the birth came close, and with some complications in between, because the story is mentioned in much detail that I can't get into, she finally delivers a baby girl, and she insists that she should name this girl to be Fatima. Family disagrees. They wanted to name her after the wife of Rasulullah, and eventually they come to an agreement that we won't name her Fatima, we won't name her the wife of Rasulullah, but we'll name her to be Bushra. And the name was then given Bushra, and then she gives kafara for not fulfilling her covenant and her ahad that she had made at the time she had attended the sufra of Baneen. So you want to benefit from the sufra of Baneen. Whenever you are stuck in a problem, there's a difficulty that you're unable to resolve, do tawassul to Hazrat al-Baneen, recite a Surah Fatiha, and one time Surah Qul Huwallahu Ahad, and inshallah you'll see how your masail could be resolved. This lady suffered a great deal. You know, there are some people who could not be present in Karbala. But when they couldn't be present in Karbala, they made sure that they sent their fidya to Karbala. Imam Hassan knew that he was not going to be alive, so he sends his sons. Amongst them is Qasim ibn Hassan. In fact, when Qasim was not given permission, he brings in that ruq'ah, that ta'weez, in which there was a letter from Imam Hassan to Imam Hussein asking to grant permission to his son. Hazrat Abdullah, husband of Hazrat Zainab, could not come to Karbala, but he sent his fidya in the form of Aun and Muhammad. And similarly, al-Baneen could not make it to Karbala, but she made sure that 4 of her lions were present to serve Imam Hussein. As the Qafila returned back to Medina, Bashir comes and announces, as he recited those ash'ar which are recited for you, as he recited these ash'ar, al-Baneen said to him, "O Bashir, what is the news of Hussein?" Bashir recognized this is al-Baneen. He says, "Oh Fatima bint Hizam, your son Abbas was martyred." She said, "I'm asking you about Hussein." He said, "Your son Ja'far was also martyred." He said, "I'm asking you what happened to Hussein." He kept on saying, "Your son Abdullah and your son Uthman, they were all martyred." Baneen said, "How could that be? Where's Hussein? I'm asking about Hussein." He said, "Hussein was also martyred." Fatima bint Hizam couldn't believe her ears. And she said, "It's not possible. As long as my son was alive, nothing could happen to Hussein. I will not forgive him." The man said, "Don't worry, O lady. As long as Abbas was alive, nothing happened to Hussein. Nobody could get close to Hussein. As long as Abbas was alive, the women in the tents were comfortable. They did not have any fear whatsoever. Yes, but after Abbas left this world, it was something which the ladies could not understand. They did not know what to expect the next day. After Hussein left this world, after Abbas left this world, the tents were set afire. Baneen throws herself to the ground, and she throws sand onto her head, and she says, 'Do not call me Baneen anymore. Why, the Baneen, the children that I had, are no longer alive.' Ala la'natullah al-qawm al-zalimin. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ إِنَّ لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Oh Allah, please accept our ibadah tonight. Oh Allah, we've committed a lot of sins. Please forgive our sins. Oh Allah, give us the tawfiq and ability to follow the commands and teachings of Ahl Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. Oh Allah, hasten the reappearance of our awaited Imam. Make us amongst the helpers and the soldiers of Imam. Wa akhiru da'wan, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Please recite another Surah Fatiha for the following marhumin: Raza Abdi ibn Shamimul Hassan Abdi, Zahra Bano binte Sher Ali Manji. Surah Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا رسول الله، وعلى ابن عمك أمير المؤمنين، وعلى ابنتك فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، وعلى ولديك الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة، وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفة الله، السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله، السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله، السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله، السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله، السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث علي أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام ولي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلت، ولعن الله أمة ظلمت، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من ملهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها الشهيد وابن الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمت، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباه. السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله وأمداه. السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي الولي الناصح. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله. بأبي أنتم وأمي طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما. فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الوسيين. السلام عليك يا ابن أفضل القوم إسلاما وأقدمهم إيمانا وأقومهم بدين الله وأحوطهم على الإسلام. أشهد لقد نصحت لله ولرسوله ولأخيك فنعم الأخ المواسي. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمت ولعن الله أمة استحلت منك المحارم وانتهكت حرمة الإسلام. فنعم الأخ الصابر المجاهد المحامي الناصر والأخ الدافع عن أخيه المجيب إلى طاعة ربه الراغب فيما زهد فيه غيره من الثواب الجزيل والثناء الجميل. وألحقك الله بدرجتك آبائك في جنات النعيم. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء. السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس وأنيس النفوس أيها المدفون بأرض الطوس. السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا إمام زماننا عجل الله تعالى فرجاه وسهل الله مخرجاه وجعلنا من أنصارك وأعوانك. السلام عليك ورحمة الله وبركاته.